Hi everyone, Cindy Squirrel here. Well, I'm doing another about video because my old one was taken on a totally different property 3 years ago, and a lot has changed since then. Right now, where we live is 182 acres, or 83, or 84, or 85, I forget now. And the reason I don't know is because road allowance, but it's a family property. And in 1924, Cochrane was just opening up. Well, it had been opening up since I'm not sure how many years, but there was still no road from Southern Ontario to Cochrane. It was, you come here by train, period. But in January 1924, so this year is the 100th birthday, that my great uncle Thompson Morden came here by himself. He was 21 years old. He came by train from Manitoulin Island. He came up here, he found this property, and he settled on this property and got the patent from the Crown. This was all Crown land up here. So this was like virgin forest. And January, like sleep in a tent in January in Cochrane at -41. But he did it, and he started building his homestead, his home. And in the spring of 1924, in May, his dad and another brother, came up from Manitoulin Island on the train, and his dad settled on the opposite corner, and his brother settled 3 lots that way. And they started building their homes. I know Parker's home was a log home, so I'm presuming this one was probably, the original one was probably a log home too. And they were here for a year. My great-grandfather's, my great-grandmother and all the younger kids stayed on Manitoulin Island by themselves, while 2 of the kids and her husband was up here, and she was pregnant at the time with their last child. And in March 12th, 1925, Nelson went down and got the family, which included my grandmother, Thompson's sister. And that is why this hill is called Morden Hill, because Thompson's sister Tilly was right across the road. You have Grandpa and Grandma, you have Parker. Everybody was a Morden except the one property there. And then that's it. Nobody else settled this little area. It's thousands and thousands of acres of Crown land to the south and to the east of us. So this is called Morden Hill. And Uncle Tom's completely cleared this, he farmed it. He had big potato fields. He had dairy cows that he sold the cream. He had pigs, he had chickens, he had eggs. He built furniture, and he never got married. And he died in 1986. In 1970-ish, an uncle, my mother's brother, he moved up here onto this property with Tom's, and he built a homestead on here. So there was the 2 people living here. And yeah, and now it's ours, and 100 years later. I just love it, and this feels like home. And because of this property being dormant or whatever, and Thompson wasn't a big farmer using sprayers and chemicals, This land is so abundant. I have so many Saskatoon berry trees on this property. I have so many raspberry bushes. I have black chokecherry bushes. I have high bush cranberry. Like, there's just everywhere I walk, there is food. And last year I started gardening. I had to do the raised gardens and, of course, very high raised garden beds, because in my old age, the ground seems to have got a lot farther down than I remember. Like, I just can't get down there. I might be able to get down, can't get back up. So I got to thinking about this being 100-year-old Morden farm, and this is called Morden Hill. So I've sort of switched to Morden Hill. That's what Bob gave me for Christmas. And one of Nelson's cousins left, and he went out west to Manitoba, and he founded the town Morden, Manitoba. And in Morden, Manitoba, I'm not sure when it started, but I know there was a lot in the 1950s. There was a research station developed, Morden Research Station. And I have found, thank goodness for Google, Morden tomatoes, red ones, beautiful red tomatoes that were developed for the climate in Morden, Manitoba. The only thing is it's zone 4B, and I thought I was 2B. I'm only 2A. I'm like, oh my gosh. How do I grow anything here? I have no idea. But so there's the red tomato, it's called the Morden. There is I just got a line on a little yellow pear-shaped tomato that someone from out east went to visit the Morden Research Station, seen this tomato, popped it in his pocket, went home, grew his first plants from that tomato, and just carried on. And now he sells these Morden pear tomatoes, seeds. So I've got a line on them. I've got them ordered. And then there is, I finally found apricot trees that I've ordered from the Morden, called the Morden apricot. 2 different kinds. I've got 2 different kinds of Morden apples. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and develop my own seeds for zone 2 through growing them this year, saving the seeds, planting the seeds, saving the seeds, planting the seeds, getting them so that they will grow in this climate. Last year, Bob and I, we planted 3 different kinds of high bush blueberries on the property, black elderberries. We planted black because there's only red on the property. We have planted a lot of crowns of asparagus. We have, should I say stolen? Rhubarb crowns. We've taken them from the old homestead that we found, and when Marty was up here, she found rhubarb on our aunt's old homestead, and she dug up the rhubarb and she took some to her place and she brought me some. So I have rhubarb. We have planted red currants. We have planted dwarf cherry trees. And Marty, because I cannot hatch chickens up here, I can't have an incubator because we're off grid, and then you'd need heat lights, blah, blah, blah. So Marty has graciously putting eggs in her incubator down south. And then the plan is that in 5 months, she'll come up here And out of all the eggs that she hatches, all the females will come here to up my flock, and all the males will be ready to butcher, and up here there is a butcher that will process them for her on a Friday. She comes up on the Friday, drops off all of the males, and then when she goes home on the Monday, she has beautifully packaged chickens to put in her freezer. So yay for Shed Wars, we're gonna up our weights, or at least she is. And we're getting another line on another chicken that is a bit bigger and hopefully will produce well. So I'm excited. I'm in Shed Wars. I'm doing the winter gardening. I've got my buffet just full of stuff growing. One of them is the Morden tomato, of course. And we're gonna, yeah, come along for the journey, because there's just so much change and totally different, and I'm excited. I'm really happy. I was happy in my old life, you know, having almost 1,000 acres and 65 head of cattle and spending my life in the tractor making hay. But I really enjoy this property, and I think I'm home. Morden Hill is home like I've never felt before. So come along on the journey with me.